Okay, today was our last full padded practice for spring game. We did some run work with the lower units and really thought that some of the younger offensive linemen are doing well. Luke Sandy is emerging, is doing well. West King, Forrest. We just got to develop. I mean, you very rarely do you go through a year and play with five guys, and so we've got to develop some depth and physicality. That work was live, and so it was good to see our running backs, get some yards after contact and all that. Thursday's practice will be in spiders, and it'll be somewhat of a tune-up for a spring game. We think it's still important to have a spring game. I know a lot of schools have departed from that and do a showcase. We just think it's still important for players to go out and get the feel of what a game's like, and then also showcase to our fans and the media about our team. And so pleased with that. We've been pretty healthy actually this spring, and I'm excited about this football team going into this next year. So questions?
Did you know anything about the team Saturday? I know that's when your major.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. I think we're starting to define, maybe who the fourth team defensive tackle is, and we're starting to see who the fourth team defensive end is and where our running backs are sorting out, because we're going to need some playmakers there, and then also receivers. And then some emerging things in the secondary. I think Andrew Johnson, while he's not established himself as a starter, but is starting to show some promise. He's a guy from Cheyenne Central and had good test scores, but hadn't really shown it on the football field, but seeing some of those things as well.
Greg, so many times when guys enter the portal, fans are quick to say,
Yeah.
that guy's not loyal and that kind of stuff. But how often, though, is this a product of you and your staff saying, it's time to move on and let's look at some other opportunities for you?
Yes. What you said is exactly right. And so, one of the things I've tried to do, and you guys have probably much more, attentiveness to the outside world. We do what we think is in best interest, and we've had some really frank conversations with some of our players. And, as I said earlier, I've had to evolve as a head football coach. Much was said, okay, coach isn't going to change. I'm not saying that we've changed our DNA, but we're evolving to what's going on. It's a new lay of the land, and we need to get our football team ready to go and have a heck of a 2023 season.
Greg, we talked a lot about going from walk-on to scholarship in this program. A guy like Jordan Bergen, how far has he come from his recruitment?
Well, yeah, you're looking at a guy who basically played receiver to playing the defensive tackle, and it's been fun to see his progress. I'm also encouraged by a guy like, Ryan Marquez is showing some things, and we're putting him on scholarship. And that's just another case of guys that are loyal. That it's one of the neatest things that I have an opportunity to do is pull a guy over and say, you know what, you've earned this, and to acknowledge that. And I think sometimes there's a tendency to want to reach out and go for somebody else when you got a guy here that has done the right things and shown they have the ability to make plays and win for us. And while he was going to be loyal and stay on our team no matter what, to do the next right thing is to put him on scholarship. And so that's all part of building this locker room.
How's the competition in nickel going behind Rook? Because I know you have a lot of depth.
Yeah. You know what? Jay's really kind of looking at staging some guys. Andrew could potentially fit in there. Buck Coors could fit in. Rook has been a good player, but if you look, I think the last seven games last year, we had Rook, Isaac, and Wyatt for 7 games. And we got to develop more depth. We got to be deeper. And so we've got, I wish we were deeper at the nickel position, but we'll probably have to shift a couple guys around.
Craig, do you like the new running clock rule?
I knew, here's what I would say, is this, the I sit on the competition committee when we started to look at what we need to do to pare some of our times down. But I can tell you there is no data. There is no data to support we're going to cut plays down to make the game safer. There is no data. That was framed to make things, we wanted to cut the game down. My whole point is, let's just say we're going to cut some plays down. And so, that decision, as opposed to, what was on the table was some discussion on a running clock after an incompletion. That would have had, I think, a profound effect. And so, you know what? Everybody wants a gallon of blood. We gave them a pint. And but to frame this is framing it because of player safety is who's ever saying that should go to Washington, D.C. and get on some of the cable news networks, because it's a bunch of – I sat in all those meetings. I coached in FCS football when we played 15 games for 3 years. I mean, just call it for what it is. We want to shorten the game.
You want to fit the TV window.
What's that?
You want to fit the TV window.
I don't want to fit the TV window, but TV's paying part of my salary. I know that.
How much can that help a run-heavy offense like yours to have the clock continue?
We're going to see. I mean, you can kind of frame things however we want to. I knew there was going to be some change, and we knew it. I mean, it was mandated. And but like I said, we'll deal with it.
Given that, last Saturday scrimmage is probably your main scrimmage, what do you want the public to see on Saturday? I know you don't want to unveil all of it.
Yeah, there's some things that we have worked on that are not going to be shown, but you're going to see some of the things that we've done. Really beyond, I think it's important for our players to be able to play in front of our fans. That's particularly for a younger player, even though it's not a game, it gives them that sense of what a game is like. I think it's important to have our players, no coaches on the field, officials, game clock, uniforms. And then to do this for fans, one of the reasons why this, as you notice, our spring game is one of the latest ones in the year. And trying to cooperate with Mother Nature to have at least a decent game with weather, I think is important. So I encourage our fans to come out and have a chance to embrace this football team. They're going to like this team, and I personally like it as well. And so you have a chance. There's going to be some critics of, well, we didn't do this right or we didn't do that right. You'll see guys play with great energy, class, and you'll see some players. Some players are going to play more than others. Some guys who've shown what we have already seen, maybe not to your eyes, but they've shown me. You're not going to see a couple guys play very much, but you're going to see a whole lot of other guys play a lot. And there will be some unsung hero, and probably from the state of Wyoming, that everybody gets fired up with. I mean, that's how Bighorn made his splash a couple years ago.
Coach Ethan Drews made the move to offensive line.
Yep.
And what went into that, and how's it going?
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. Ethan is a bright guy, and we looked at where we were at with the defensive tackle. We looked at where we're at offensive line. He's 290 pounds. He's bright. He's planning to go to law school, so hopefully it works out. He's in law school and plays offensive line for us. We're well pleased with his switch. He's still not super experienced, but the experience he had over on defense has helped. And then he's picked up the playbook awfully fast for a short amount of time, which is why I'll probably hire him as my attorney.
Coach, you had mentioned that you challenged Isaac Schoenfeld last week, and what have you seen since?
Well, his scrimmage was much better. He had practiced better, and then the first scrimmage had not performed particularly well. He blocked better. He was assignment conscious, and he caught the ball well. And so I was encouraged, and I told him that today. I saw him up by the dining hall. I said, you're making progress.
Do you sit there and watch tape after practice and then just write down guys' names and say, I'm going to be talking to him, and him?
You know what? Logan Wilson will say this. I always do this, and there are guys that come to the forefront. And here's a script, okay? Every play's scripted in here, all right? I don't look at the script. I look at players. And acknowledge guys when they've done well, and maybe some encouragement when you better, hey, light a fire on your butt and get going. So that's old school. Old school works, man. Okay?
Speaking of the eyeball test, what do you like about Kimball Madsen so far, and can he be the pass catching threat that you said Driscoll was turning?
Not yet.
Yeah.
There's still work there. He has not reached that level. We are, Driscoll's hurt. And I got news back that, the MRI was pretty clean, so it's non-surgical. He'll be back 4 to 6 weeks.